What's up guys, my name is JohnnyCook5 and welcome back to another episode of the F1 My Team Career Mode. We are in Singapore, but as usual we've got a few things to do before we get into things and we go racing. Having a look at the budget that we have currently got, we're sitting on about 4.69 million, so we've got some budget to spend if we actually do want to. I feel like we can upgrade a few departments, and we're going to go for the fabrication for the powertrain. I always thought that was an important part to be able to upgrade, being one of the main parts of the engine. And then we're just going to take a look at what areas we are able to upgrade. With the RMD we've got, obviously we can only do so many upgrades because we haven't upgraded as many of our facilities. With that being said, Singapore as a circuit then, a very tight street circuit, something that I actually not a fan of whatsoever. There are probably more circuits I hate than what I actually like, in all fairness, but you do kind of get used to them after a while and you get back into the swing of things, and it probably doesn't help having a little bit of a slow car currently. I mean, we are really kind of suffering in terms of the results that we've had recently compared to the mid part of the season where we weren't doing too bad. I mean, we was getting some nice podiums. We also got a win in Hungary, so there's definitely parts that we could improve on as we look to near go to the end of the season. I mean, so we're round 16 now, so we've got not that many left. I think we've got about 7 or 8 rounds, I'm pretty sure that I'm right in saying. I have to double check on the calendar. But yeah, Singapore then, a circuit that can be good in some ways. I mean, I know it's a new layout, and I think that was in the previous game, if I'm right in saying. Obviously there's a bit where it is a bit more free flowing and everything else, but just didn't really seem to click with the actual setup itself. I mean, I have adjusted the car to what I believe would actually work in terms of going round this circuit, but it just didn't feel like anything was clicking. The corners, everything in terms of the brakes, I just didn't feel like I could get through the corners quick enough and allow myself a decent exit speed. I felt like I was always suffering. I mean, the straights we're fast on, I know we're fast on. We've got a fast car in terms of that aspect of our car. But the thing that I'm really struggling with is corner speed. I'm not able to kind of get into the corner quick enough and get a quick enough exit also. So we are struggling in some aspects of the car. Hoping that that will go away in time. I've also got back, for whatever reason as well, at the start of the F1 game, I found like I was backing out a lot in terms of going into corners, in terms of where I'd go into a corner, I'd have a lot of understeer, and I'd feel like the actual tyres itself wouldn't get to grip with the actual track, and I couldn't go full on the power. So for argument's sake, if you're going into a corner and you go full on the power, the car is literally just shaking side to side. So something again as well that I'm really struggling with, but I'm hoping that will kind of go in time, and obviously where we get a better car, I hope the upgrades will kind of get them teething problems out the way and go from there. So we do a few practice programs like usual, just to be able to kind of get a decent amount of R&D at the end. This one was a fuel saving one. I wasn't able to get it up to optimal, but it was a decent result in the end. In terms of actual lap times though, we were suffering big time, as you can see. That's probably one of our lowest practice sessions that we've done in the whole time that we have been running races and programs and everything else in this series. Qualifying was really disappointing as well. If I could only at one point get best of P10, didn't feel like I was up there with the pack whatsoever. Really struggling to get that delta positive, but really pushing at the same time, and that's the stupid thing. I felt like I knew where I was going wrong. Even when I felt like, do you know what, I've actually gone faster through that corner, it wouldn't kind of show on the actual timings, which was a real issue that I felt like I was struggling with. But it's one of those, it's going to take time, and we just kind of need to see it out and just push and get as many kind of points together to be able to look forward to next season. And obviously we will need a decent teammate to go along with it, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm also to being able to try and see if we can improve this at any point in time and look forward to some hopefully better races in time. We didn't do a bad lap in terms of what we were progressing. I mean, P12, and then we make, as you see, like we had a red delta, and all of a sudden we make that corner really better, and we've made up half a second straight away. So there is a big difference. I was colliding with the wall a lot, as you could see. It's really hard to get the car turned and just get on the power straight away and have that decent bit of precision. Maybe it might be my driving skills, I'm not too sure, but yeah, I was really struggling. But we don't do too bad. I feel like these qualifying sessions aren't getting any better though, and that's what I'm really suffering with on race day. We only get up to P10 at that point in time, but as you can see, I'm nowhere near whatsoever, and this is one of our worst qualifiers, P16. Really, really poor, and something where I just don't know where we've gone from being at a decent level in terms of in and around the top 10 and then pushing for podiums to now actually getting worse as the season goes on, but we shall see.
We missed it for a couple of years, but it was great to come back to the Singapore Grand Prix. We're here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit today, located in the heart of Singapore. The circuit consists of 23 corners, 13 to the left and 10 to the right. It's a track that's incredibly technical, so don't expect to see the drivers taking too much of it at full throttle. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Sainz, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Magnussen, Ocon, Stroll, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Cook, Joe, Albon, Tsunoda, Massa, De Vries and Logan Sargent. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, the regulations aren't new anymore, but the teams and the drivers are still coming to terms with them. I firmly believe it's also track specific. We've seen some wheel-to-wheel racing throughout the year. Some tracks lend themselves better to it than others. I'd like to see it at every race in the whole season. Is that too much to ask?
Here we go then, we're pretty much at the back of the grid as we wait for the 5 lights to go out, and the lights out and away we go. Hulkenberg just in front and Bottas also, a lot squished together as we go past Bottas and Stroll. Hulkenberg to our right hand side with Kevin Magnussen and Esteban Ocon just in front, and we are able to squeeze out into 13th place as we go round the outside, and then we seem to be able to gain even more positions. P11, a really good start for considering the position that we're previously in. A lovely past Oscar Piastri, really good stuff. I mean, lap 1 of 21 and we've already made up 6 places so far, so we have actually made our way into the top 10 with Fernando Alonso, Carlos Sainz, and I'm pretty sure that's the other Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Actually, you know, you've got Pierre Gasly there, sorry, and you've actually got yes, you have got Leclerc there also, just trying to make up and see what the numbers are. I wish sometimes on the games it would actually show you a full leaderboard compared to where you're actually placed. I feel like that would be a really good addition to the game. As we go through the few corners here, as you can see, and we've made up some decent time. P8 currently, another 2 places being made up, and a lovely start, and this is much better from us. Whether we continue to do that is another thing, obviously. We could get stuck in one position. DRS not being able to be activated, I mean, that's not a problem because it's not until lap 3 where it is enabled, but it is saying that our wing is a bit faulty, but I'm glad that is happening now and not when we actually need DRS. Gasly just in front, and an unlikely one to be competing with. I feel like where we have been at this point in time where we've been on the grid quite far back, I feel like we are competing with different drivers that we would never really compete with before. So it's nice to see some different faces and have some different battles with some different teams, and it's always nice to not just have the same kind of familiar faces that you are battling against and you're saying the same names and so on. Lewis Hamilton running a really good GP in Singapore so far. He's got the fastest lap, meaning that he is in P1 as at the moment, as we look to see if we can gain any time on Pierre Gasly in the Alpine machine. But we seem to be quite close to him, so I feel like we can sort of make a move really tight to that corner. We don't go as far to the outside as before, and we've made up some decent time on Pierre Gasly, and the seconds are going down considerably as we look to try and see if we can make a move at that point onwards. But we are not able to as of the moment, and we have to contain our composure, and we have to see if we are able to get past really fast on the straight as we activate a lot of ERS being drained from the battery, and through we go on the Alpine machine of Pierre Gasly, swinging out of the corner there, as you can see, and that's the point where I'm really struggling at. If I clip the curb or anything else like that, the back end completely falls out, and it's really hard to be able to get back on the power with a lot of time being lost also. So it is a big worry, and it is a big problem that I am suffering with. Lap 3 of 21, and we're just behind Lando Norris, and we've actually made a gap to the top 6 really close, as Sergio Perez is in P5. He's on the harder set of tyres, so if we can get past Lando Norris, it might just be able to kind of get past Sergio Perez. Also really tight through this neck of the track, and there's no overtaking points, but we're going to take a look, and we are past Lando Norris. We look like we give him a little bit of budge as we look to see if we've made any damage to the car. All is good, and as you can see, Lando Norris is considerably behind from where he originally was, definitely kind of throwing him out of sorts, as we did collide with him massively. As the laps go on, lap 8 of 21, Lando Norris is making some sort of a comeback as he looks to see if he can kind of go wheel to wheel into that corner, but it's not to be. Really outbraking there, and he has to push off onto the brakes, and he has to go and slot behind. With that being said, a mistake was made by Lando, and Pierre Gasly is now through in P7. We have got a decent gap now from behind us, but unfortunately the gap in front of us is way too much. And we're not going to make any sort of kind of time on the people in front of us. I don't feel like we are in that sort of kind of moment in times of the actual season and the car itself. I mean, even with himself being on the harder tyre, I know I've done 8 laps, but the softer tyres would definitely kind of be better than the hard. If he was on the medium, I might understand it a bit more, because the mediums can actually be faster in race. But yeah, in terms of on the harder set of tyre, it is not the best in terms of we're not competing with that whatsoever. But we're going to push on, we're not going to give up, and we're going to have to try and maintain our position, because Pierre Gasly is taking a look. We overtook him quite close into the race. And now we're at lap 8 of 21. I feel like he's definitely gained some positions, and he has definitely kind of stayed within the pack. And he's got decent race pace, I feel like, as well. He's definitely battling at this point. As I say, it's always nice to be able to say different names, and the Alpine machine is quite strong. Esteban Ocon is always running in the top 10, and as you can see, Pierre Gasly whizzes through us on that straight, so I feel like he got DRS a lot, and he probably activated some ERS, but we are late onto the brakes, and he only got past me momentarily. I think if he overtook me any earlier, I wouldn't have been able to get past him on that corner. Pit window open then, and we are going to be waiting to pit for the medium tyre as we complete these final few corners, and then lap 9 of 21 it's going to be that we are pitting on, and we're going to see if that's going to make any difference to our race. I'd like to think we would have a bit more grip around here. As you can see, I'm battling with the car, trying to maintain it on track at least, and not off. Pierre Gasly marches on, so he's not going to be pitting. I feel like a few other people are going to go past me also, with then another lot are going to be pitting also. So you've got Fernando Alonso, Hulkenberg, you've got you've got Esteban Ocon. Hulkenberg didn't actually pit, so a lot of people didn't pit, funny enough. Esteban Ocon, so they didn't want to double stack with the Alpine. Optimal stop, and that is a lovely stuff. Well, that's what we want. 2.4, 2.5, as always, 2.4, and away we go. A momentary stop, lap 10 of 21 then, so we've got 11 laps left of this Singapore Grand Prix as we look to try and see if we can make any time on the people in front of us. Also, we're going to have people pitting, so if all goes well and we are putting in the right times, we should slot into the same position that we were originally in after the people in front of us have actually pitted for whatever tyre they have chose. Just trying to warm up the medium tyre now as we try and see if we can try and make a decent lap time. As you can see, teammate is in the pits, so there's people flooding into the pits as we look to go and hit the final corner, and this is going to be interesting to see if Pierre Gasly is any match. He was right behind us before we did pit. Purple sector 3, so we are definitely faster on the medium tyre, and through we go, and Pierre Gasly is nowhere near us, and I think he's actually going to get overtaken. Fernando Alonso getting past, so he actually did it worse off by not pitting, and they probably could have double stacked with the gap between himself and Esteban Ocon. Green Delta, we have definitely pushed on, and it's a decent lap by myself. It's not the fastest, but it's the fastest lap that we have actually produced as ourselves. Really strong stuff, and we're definitely suiting better on the medium set of tyre. The grip feels a little bit better. You feel like you can push in areas that you weren't able to on the softer tyre, and I just feel like it's more of a comfortable tyre that we are actually suiting with, and we're going to push on with this being said. Sergio Perez is still a monumental gap in front. I mean 6.2 seconds, or 6.6 seconds, sorry, right in front of us. So yeah, at the end of the day, we're not going to be getting anywhere near Sergio Perez, but we are going to be slotting into 7th place, hopefully with Lando Norris pitting. Didn't actually realise what position I was in at that moment in time, but we are going to go through on Lando Norris, and there's going to be one other person that needs to pit. I'm not too sure who that is until they drop down. So we are in P7 currently, lap 13 of 21, as we look to try and see if we can just hold this position. I feel like I'd be happy with a P6, top 6 in the race. I feel like that's a better position compared to what we've previously been in. The other rider would have been Oscar Piastri, that has actually pitted, so that is a good thing. And now we are free. Lap 14 of 21, P6 as it currently stands. A decent gap behind us, 2.5 seconds it is growing to. But Alonso is gaining time, and as you can see, so maybe the medium tyre is coming to a little bit of a worn part of period where the kind of tyres are degrading, and we need to watch the grip levels as Fernando Alonso charges upon us behind us. As you can see in the rear view mirror, he came right into the back of us on that corner, going late onto the brakes, and he's definitely gaining a bit of time behind, half a second less now, as he looks to try and see if he can make the push on and slot himself into P6. He's definitely in with a shout. And with that being said, if I'm holding up Fernando Alonso, does that mean that Pierre Gasly is actually going to gain some time and fight for the actual top 6 position? We haven't got many laps left, not say that we are able to kind of hold this, but it will be trying to see if we are able to kind of stay in the position as the laps kind of close down. Fernando Alonso is in a fast car, and we know all about his experienced drive, as he looks to try and see if he can take a look on the inside line, and he's going to take a look, and he's actually bumped into me, and a real big collision from Fernando Alonso. Not too sure why, because I gave him the space. I was to the left hand side, he was originally on the outside. He's cut inside to my area, and unfortunately for him, he's actually collided with me. And if I'm right in saying, I reckon that will force a pit stop. I reckon he would actually now have to pit, because that front wing does look damaged as he falls back. The time is being lost. One person that hasn't lost time is Pierre Gasly. He slots himself into P7. With that being said, Fernando Alonso is in the pits, and he's going to finish in a miserable position with him having to pit twice in this Grand Prix, and there's not many laps left, so he's definitely not going to make any time up whatsoever. But a person, as I said, who has is Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly looks very, very strong. Nick De Vries out of the session now, unfortunately. And saying about him being strong, you actually could saw Esteban Ocon was behind us, so Pierre Gasly is definitely fallen back. Nick De Vries is getting worse for him, unfortunately. The AlphaTauri is not performing, and maybe, just maybe, like real life, he might not have an AlphaTauri seat next season in game. You just never ever know. Esteban Ocon and Kevin Magnussen just behind us then, as he looks to see if they can make a move. Esteban Ocon's definitely going to look on this straight, as he's got DRS, not the best exits whatsoever, as he hots to the left hand side. We've got ERS, and he's going to be literally neck on neck as we go late onto the brakes. He holds the position really well, but so do I, and it's literally the case of fine margins as we go round the corner. We go out to the outside to get a better exit, and that has definitely helped us in our pursuit of P6. This is lap 21 of 21, bearing in mind, so we have not got any time for error. There's no laps to be able to say that we can sit back, because this is the last lap of the race. As Esteban Ocon once again takes a look. Momentarily, he's in P6, and he's covering so well, trying to push me out. Just seems to be that I've got more power going through that sort of the track, as we have a decent bit of people behind us now. We've actually kind of gained some sort of train. I'm not too sure who the third driver is, but I'm pretty sure that I know I've got Esteban Ocon and Kevin Magnussen just behind me as we go late onto the brakes, trying to see if we can just get any sort of seconds gained on Esteban Ocon. We know that Alpine machine is fast. Pierre Gasly has been troubling us in the Grand Prix, so Esteban Ocon is definitely going to be going to. Also, Lewis Hamilton has gone over the line. He is the race winner. He has definitely been putting in some brilliant performances recently in the Mercedes. Really good to see, though. Fair enough to Lewis. He's definitely got that car where he wants it to be, and he's put it on the top spot in Singapore, with Max Verstappen not doing the best compared to what he has done previously. That is very interesting to see, to say the least. Not many corners left in this Grand Prix then, and Esteban Ocon is going to have to make every second count as we literally complete the last few corners, as we have this long bit of straight, as you can see. And this circuit is so tight. I feel like it's worse than Monaco at some points. I think I actually prefer Monaco, and that's hard to say. As Esteban Ocon is wheel to wheel through that corner, and he's fighting for that P6, and we are literally neck and neck as we eke the position out, and we are through on Esteban Ocon. It looks to be that we're going to make our hold. It's a checkered line is just there, and we have only just made it a hold to be able to claim P6. The competition has definitely hotted up in this Grand Prix, and that was actually a Ferrari engine in behind Kevin Magnussen's, an unlikely one. I do believe that's Carlos Sainz. Driver of the day goes to myself. A really good drive in the end. I mean, we made up a lot of positions. We made up 10 positions, so we did very, very well for what it is. We still have the same place in the standings, and also the constructors. Nothing has changed on that point, and unfortunately nothing has changed in terms of Felipe Massa's performances, and he has definitely not got any nearer. I was hoping that he would be an improvement on Liam Lawson, but it just doesn't seem to be, where he's getting up the times, and it just seems to be that he is dropping back every time. Pierre Gasly actually finished at 11th in the end, a very surprising one compared to where he was at the point in time of some point of the Grand Prix. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Please like and subscribe for more content just like this one, and don't forget to hit the notification button so you never miss a video. Cheers.